Hello, everyone, and welcome to AI Governance, how AI voices can be the key to ethical and technical development. And this webinar, we're all about empowering the Black community to lead in the age of technology. Okay, so let's get the show on the road. I just want to personally thank you for coming on and welcome. And I'm going to share now our agenda. We're going to cover today the importance of Black voices in tech, the role of AI governance in shaping society. We're going to cover how the Black community can be involved in ethical, inclusive tech development. And we've got a new member to our team, name's Fred, and we'll do introduction to Fred. Okay, so if you're all ready, we're going to now begin. So, house rules, please. Stay on mute. You want to make sure that you type your questions in the chat, and just know that this is a safe forum for discussion, and it's okay to disagree. And please turn off your cell phones. I'm doing that right now so we don't interrupt the presentation. So about us, Claudius, take it away.
Yes, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We know that you're very busy folks, and to take a time out of your day, probably in your lunchtime. Hopefully you don't get too hungry. So my name is Claudius Thomas. I'm the founder and CEO of myaipathway.org. I like to describe myself as an AI evangelist who is focused on ethical applications in as AI applies to society. Have over 35 years experience in the field of information systems and technology. I am an advocate for ethical AI in business and society, as I said, and I focus on using technology for growth and sustainability. And I should also add accountability. I am committed to empowering Black youth through education and entrepreneurship.
Okay. Thanks, Claudius. And for myself, my name is Carl McLean. I'm the COO, and I've launched 11 STEM community initiatives across North America, with an impact of getting 3,312 Black boys into the area of STEM. I serve on two boards of the BIPOC community, and I'm about creating change. Okay.
Okay, so what is AI governance? AI governance can be looked at this way. We say AI governance refers to the frameworks, policies, and practices that guide the development, deployment, and regulation of artificial intelligence to ensure that it aligns with ethical, legal, and social standards. Now, this is a broad standard statement, but when you think of social standards, even legal, and you think of the diversity of the globe and uh, uh, um, global economies and societies, the impact of this obviously is quite vast. So, a quick pause here. Any thoughts? If you have any thoughts to share or questions, please put in the post-its in the chat. Continue.
Yep.
Keep an eye on the chat.
Okay.
So the goal of this presentation is to look at how we manage the risks that AI brings and how we can maximize the benefits for us as entrepreneurs, as Black people, and our families, our kids, to be part to make sure we gain in the benefits by we promote transparency, accountability, and the fairness in AI systems. The fact is that AI is here. AI, as we'll see later on, is known to be biased. It is biased, but for to affect that bias, affect that change, we have to be a part of the journey to influence the change. Again,
Agreed.
we appreciate your thoughts. If you can actually if you want to share any comments, questions, or counter thoughts, on this statement?
Any
Please put
thoughts?
it in the chat.
Or just give us a thumbs up if you agree.
Yeah.
Now, thoughts on AI currently. Like, we want to know, what are your thoughts? How can you think that AI technology can both help and harm marginalized communities, particularly the Black community? What are some of your thoughts on that? How can AI technology help but also harm the community? Anyone?
I can certainly give some thoughts on this. Um, if I start with the negative harm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll cite some examples later on, but some of the things that keep
Yeah,
coming
we
up
will.
are things like in reference to the Black community, where we come in as immigrants, all the nations come in as immigrants also, including white nations. When you come in as immigrants, you come in at a level where you can easily settle into the society, into Canadian society. However, two things come up when you want to begin life. What's your credit score?
Mhm.
And what's your Canadian experience? Now, as software technology is built by banking systems, insurance systems, government systems to make those same assumptions, AI, the machine learning, the language, natural language processing that these technologies develop and learn what is actually being asked, the questions that are placed on forms that read all this inputs from human based on the design of the institutions that are wanting these answers means that the assumptions continue so that when AI itself can start to make decisions or assumptions, the assumptions remain as the institutions intentionally or unintentionally designed it. So that is
Yeah.
one very clear way where it harms our demographic.
Mhm.
On the help
Ex-
side is, well, it's a technology that has wonderful, useful tools that we must um, use ourselves to actually enhance our lives. So, for
mhm.
example, if you're an entrepreneur and um, you can use AI tools to help you with your planning, with your marketing strategies, with your implementation, for example, if you want to use social media, how often, when, email campaigns, you can use AI tools to actually help you if your English is not very good, for example, or you don't know French, you can actually create a message in your language of comfort, and AI will be able to translate it for you to be able to send to your target audience. So those are
Yeah,
two
definitely
ways, for
agree.
example.
Yeah, and I've used AI in creating frameworks. I remember in the past, I'd be struggling trying to make my thoughts work relevant for doing a project plan or finding a solution for some community challenge. Now I just put it in like Chat GPT. I'll say create a framework for maybe getting, I don't know, youth employed or something, and it'll give me a framework to work off of. And then what I do is I take what it's created and then I use my own experience and I tweak it, making it better. But yeah, I find it's definitely a tool that can make our lives better. We won't go on the negative for now. We'll just keep on continuing. So why AI governance matters? It's in our daily lives. Claudia said it's a part of our lives. It impacts healthcare, finance, education, policy, streamlining processes, and it's all data-driven decisions. And the risk involved of it not being regulated is without oversight, it can pose safety hazards and privacy risks for sensitive areas. So we have to be cognizant of the two. Okay. And
Okay,
this is
so
Claudius.
why does AI governance matter? I indicated earlier that AI is biased. AI is biased not intentionally,
Mhm.
but by default. I like to give the example that if I sit down in my basement and code a solution, a system, that system is going to be coded from my knowledge, experience, um, demographic, etc., and all of that. That then makes it a great system about my ability and my exposure.
Mhm.
That cannot necessarily serve somebody else that is not like me or is not from my way of thinking. So by default, AI is biased. So we then have to be able to put in um, instruments that will help to say, okay, if someone is putting out system out there called and say that it's AI driven, it's artificial intelligence, how do we account or how do we police to make sure that it addresses a broad spectrum of what it should? In other words, does it address things like culture? Um,
Mhm.
is the data that it provides, is the evidence that it's true? Okay, so the second part of it
Mhm.
is for governance, there has to be accountability. So whoever is putting out any information out there must be able to ask to provide accountability for what they are claiming. So
Yeah,
AI governance is
definitely.
essential.
Mhm. I view AI as a small child, probably the age of 6 to 8, and you've asked a 6-year-old a question. They're going to default on how they were raised to answer that question. They always want to please you. So that's why AI governance matters, because those who control the code of the prompts and the data input will control the future. And then on that note, understanding the AI bias is one example is facial recognition technologies, whereby studies have shown that the systems aren't able to identify accurately black faces or people of darker complexions compared to white faces. Does that sound familiar? Now, this can lead to a higher risk of false identification for Black individuals, resulting in wrongful outcomes. I'm going to take a step back. I remember a couple of years ago, I heard when they were first developing the self-driving autonomous vehicles, the vehicles kept hitting the cutout people, which were Black or darker complexion versus the white people. So that comes down to it didn't have any understanding of what um, person of color looked like. So I guess for them it was like a shadow or something it was viewing. And then they, thank goodness, have since corrected that. But because they didn't have any data on Black people or other people of darker complexion, it kept failing the tests. So these are some things that we're talking about. Next is the role of the Black community in AI governance. You know, a lot of us are fearful for embracing AI, but we're saying that we have to be present to have the change. There's systemic bias whereby there's then historical issues with tech and limited Black voices in the decision making, hence why the AI driven vehicles were hitting people of color. And then current issues, the bias algorithms affects the Black communities and tech diverse groups. And also essential representation. Black voices drive fair and more inclusive. Now, one thing I can share about this role of the Black community in AI governance was I was creating a presentation and I figured, let me just create something on AI for an illustration to illustrate the Black community working with AI and robotics and stuff. So I said, create an office environment with Black people working, as well as put a female robot assisting them working away. And what it produced was this blonde, blue-eyed robot, something like a C-3PO from Star Wars. It was like looks robotic, nothing really different. And I said, nah, let me just put in a prompt and have it make the robot more African American features. Lo and behold, what it produced was a voluptuous robot with a body of like Pam Grier from the 70s in those B movies. It had the big lips from those menstrual shows, and it was wearing like lingerie, and it had this huge unkept afro. So that is a clear representation of why we need to be involved in this data and mining and checking these inputs. So it took me about probably, I would say, 5 to 7 more prompts of giving it more detailed instructions to create something that was more, I guess, presentable. Okay. And that's Claudius.
But so here's a quote to share or to debate, to consider, to think about. Like all technologies before it, artificial intelligence will reflect the values of its creators, as I indicated earlier, with my experience. So inclusivity matters, from who designs it to who sits on the company boards and which ethical perspectives are included. Without that spectrum, it is not intelligent.
Mhm. It's true. That's why I've started sitting on boards for that same reason, to drive impact.
Yes. And I have to give a story actually I thought was very, very interesting. I truly, truly had a conversation. Someone wanted to talk to me. We had a meeting on Monday evening, and he happened to be from the subcontinent, an Indian gentleman. And he reached out to me because he said he would like, he, he's growing his team of developers, but all applications that he receives are all from Indians. And he wants to broaden his team.
Diversity. Mhm.
So he reached out to me to see if I can bring to him black developers.
Hmm.
Now that's interesting. Actually, I just had that thought now, Colin. So are you saying that he cannot go to Indeed and specify and ask for a black?
Yeah, exactly. So that's really interesting. And I commend them for doing that because studies have shown that when you use a diverse um, group of a team, you're able to get better results, different perspectives, especially when you're doing coding. You're not doing same business as usual, right? So that's a beautiful thing. Amazing.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so what opportunities do we have for leadership in ethical tech development? Well, for a start, which is one of the things that we're looking here, for example, is advocacy for ethical standards. As part of my involvement and research into AI, taking the ethical route, so far coming up with, have now reached um, eight essential elements that I believe will help to developers to be able to build a non-biased AI algorithm. So we have to advocate for ethical standards. When we do, as Colin mentioned about the biometry, in medical, in legal, there's um, um, the AWS, Amazon did a research. They were helping an organization in southern USA look at implementing. Share my knowledge with you. Sometimes I question the title of expert. Okay. Brenda, can you mute? I think that's Brenda.
Okay.
Can you mute? Okay.
Yep, I think we're good.
Yeah. So they were helping an organization to implement AI. So part of the process was to actually look at the wordings, the terms, the phrases to build into the algorithm. And in doing that work, they came across a pattern that in a specific district circuit, there was a pattern in judgment that was being passed, how files were being handled every Tuesday. And when they looked into it, there was one circuit judge that was making They was very consistent in how that judge was handling files on a Tuesday.
Mm,
So what is the what is the ethical reason? What is the reason for that? And is it ethical?
mhm.
Without
It's
AI,
interesting.
you don't find that out. At the
Yep.
same time, when you implement an AI, you have to make sure that it allows for broader um, inclusivity.
Mhm.
Okay. Also, community-led AI governance models. We have to develop programs and resources that empower communities to advocate for um, ethical AI, pretty much
Mhm.
emphasizing the point earlier. And of course,
Okay.
education and awareness. It is upon us to promote AI literacy within our community, within the Black community. We certainly
Mhm.
at my AI pathway, the talk, we are taking that lead. Starting
Mhm.
January,
Definitely.
we're going to be running workshops and
Yep.
education seminars to make this, to expand on this point.
Mhm. Definitely needed. Oh, I think there's a something in the chat. I don't want to click on it for messing up
No,
the.
no, it's okay. It's
Okay.
one of Brenda's just apologizing for the noise. That's okay.
No worries. All good. All good. Okay. So I'm just gonna keep moving here
Yeah.
and building inclusive AI development teams. So increasing representation on AI development, diversity, as what Claude's talking about the South Asian man. This is beautiful because we can bring unique strategies and understanding. So we have to start getting more of the Black community involved in AI fields. I remember a few years back, I was talking to a university dean, and I was asking her how many students, I guess, are Black or in the STEM field taking engineering or computer programming, etc. He says there's only five in the whole university, and of the five, I think four of them were women, young women. So this is where I guess the challenges is starting to develop. We've got to start building inclusive teams, but companies are saying, well, we don't have any people from the community applying, therefore we could only hire who we currently see. So that's why we have to start getting that more in the education system. Mentorship, sponsorship programs, support the next generation of AI professionals, creating a pipeline of education in the industry. I think this is what needs to be done. And as um, families, Black families, we should also encourage our children to explore STEM options, right? This is you,
So here's
Claudius.
some key principles for ethical AI governance. Transparency. We must make AI systems to be able to understand us, okay, African, Caribbean, Black, African American, African Canadian, Black Canadian, however you want to describe yourself. The system that you're using must be transparent enough to understand who you are. It
Hmm.
must be equitable and fair. A AI does not replicate or amplify societal bias. If we actually contribute to the development of the data and the algorithm that gets built from the data, there must be privacy and security. Yesterday, I happened to sit through a presentation by a European software company, an amazing audit software that they built and representing. A wonderful presentation, great software. And then in the Q&A, someone asked about the security. And the answer was, yeah, big hole. We cannot leave it. It has to be, there has to be direction from top down, from government down, that if you're building an AI system, you cannot leave a hole in the security. After all, we have the gap of cybersecurity, which is now growing as
Yes.
as an area, as a new area of opportunity for wealth, because AI is now also making security that much of a problem, greater than it was before.
Mhm.
Um, there must be accountability. Who do we hold responsible? We have AI developers, we ourselves, we're creating all these things. We say, hey, we're AI experts and everything. But who are we accountable to? We have, for example, the uh, ISO, International Standards Organization, create all these frameworks and things and like
Mhm.
ISO standards, but that is not for governance. ISO standards are for guidance of how to do.
Mhm.
So governments, it starts from government. Government must actually be the lead on um, an AI governance. And then inclusivity. So giving examples previously that a system, a solution must be inclusive. To be able to build a true artificial intelligence system that is truly intelligent, it must be inclusive. It must represent all who are intended to use it. Next page, please.
Okay, so how the Black community can lead in AI governance, AI literacy for the community. So we're about offering workshops and resources to make AI accessible for everyone. That's exactly what we're doing for my AI pathway. And the reason why you want to do that is you can't just tell people get involved in AI, get involved in technology. It's you got to change their mindset, what their current narrative, what they believe. You have to introduce them through education so that they can take it on their own versus trying to force people to take something which they're not familiar with. And we know what happens when people are not familiar with something or comfortable, they usually resist. So it's breaking down that resistant part. Then there's the policy advocacy, whereby, partner with civil rights groups that push AI laws and protect the marginalized community. Because as I said earlier, those who control the code will control the future. And if you're not involved in the coding of the prompts, you're going to wake up one day and be shocked as to disparities that happen because of the algorithms which have been coded. Now, there's also the ethical AI entrepreneurship, support Black-led um, startups um, who are focused on ethical AI practices. If we can start supporting these kind of organizations, I think we can definitely make a change. What are your thoughts? Type in the chat or give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you agree or disagree with the slide. What do you think?
I think we should be having some thoughts on the AI, on the ethical AI entrepreneurship, because as
Hmm.
there's opportunity for learning how
Exactly.
AI impacts our community.
Yeah, there was a quote I heard. I have to paraphrase it, but pretty much the author of the quote, he was a writer. He says that AI won't take your job. It's actually someone who does the coding for AI will take your job. That's what you should be worried about. So if you
Yes.
are an entrepreneur and you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, there's other people who are embracing AI and they're using it to rate their documentation, submit different forms, create and design stuff. So if you can churn out stuff at a quicker rate, you're going to leave the people who are not embracing it behind. So it's like the horse and buggy versus the actual car. How many people do you see now, besides the Amish, operating as their daily commute, um, horse and buggy? Okay.
I can even add to that, doing a survey form, the
Hmm.
data, having the AI receive the data and do the analysis for you and present you with
True.
results. So
Exactly. I like that.
yeah,
So, a vision for ethical, inclusive AI development wouldn't be great if we had a future where AI was inclusive, fair, and beneficial to all. The impact to the Black leadership on the ethical evolution and building a legacy of responsible innovation for the next generation. That's what we would like to um, happen. But if you sit back and don't engage in the actual governance, it will not happen, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And then the importance of addressing AI bias, its ethical imperative. Addressing the AI bias is essential for creating fair, inclusive technologies that accurately represent and serve all communities, fostering trust. One example of this is Claudius, a while back. He was doing a slide deck or something, a picture, and he said, create a Zulu instructor. Now, Zulu is someone African background, and it gave him a white bohemian hippie kind of a guy playing the drums, and there was a bunch of black children all smiling. Now, when I think Zulu, I don't think of a white bohemian, but that's what it created. So it didn't represent and serve the community which Claudius was trying to create. That's one minor example. Okay.
And also the data it generated
Hmm.
cannot be trusted
Yeah.
and it's certainly incorrect.
Yeah, definitely.
So where did it collect that data to be able to give that kind of answer?
Hmm.
So unless we feed information into a system from our perspective, asking our questions. Another example I can give there is I was doing a workshop to I ran a workshop for high school students, all black students, and I asked them to do a quick test where they asked a question on Google, why do black women, and it came up on Google, wear wigs? Now, one of the 14-year-old boys said, oh, it's true, he can answer it. And he said his mom has got about 50 wigs. So I posed the question to him, so you don't think white women wear wigs? And he could not answer it. He didn't know. And he was prepared to accept that black women wear wigs. And that's the end of it. So that's another unintended
Hmm.
bias that means
Hmm.
educates the community, our kids going forward.
Hmm.
So can you see him
Exactly.
writing an essay that just is completely wrong in terms of the information he provides?
Or if becomes an entrepreneur, he's using that information to create stuff and he's missing out a whole different market. He's only pigeonholed himself in a small market, right?
Gets his market completely wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So now the importance of addressing AI bias, community engagement, we got to collaborate with the Black community, ensure that AI solutions are generally reflective of their needs, driving the development for more and a just effective system. Okay, that's why we've got to be involved in this community engagement with AI. We can't sit back on the sidelines wondering what's happening. And then now the impact of AI bias in the community. Hiring discriminations and bias resume screening. What I didn't share with you earlier in my bio is I've got a background in recruitment and community employment. And the next field is discrimination based on postal code and zip codes. No, those 2 points, the first one and the second one, I can definitely relate to because where I was situated, I was in a area that was a heavily Black population. The income was a bit low in the area, and some people considered more of a high needs area. And we had an employer looking for personal support workers, and I said, great, here's the resumes to my people who have this certification. They've been doing um, PSW work for a while and they need extra hours. And you know what? They even have a car. So I send out the first one, rejected. Second, third one, fourth one, fifth one. Now, by the seventh time I'm sending stuff, I'm thinking, okay, something's up. Why are you not hiring these people? And they said to me, well, we don't hire people from your postcode because we're concerned if they how they would get to the clients within the area. And I said to them, but they have a car. And says, no, no, our standard policy is not to hire people from this area. So that's a clear indication of a bias, which is incorrect. Racial profiling law enforcement. Next is inequities in health care diagnostics and treatment. Prime example, my son, when he was about probably 3 years old, he picked up some rash playing outside on his arm. And our doctor, who was black, she was away on vacation. So we took him to walk-in clinic. Um, Doctor saw him, gave him some ointment. And then by day two, his arm got worse. It was really inflamed and the rash was spreading. Luckily, our doctor came back from vacation and she says, no, no, that's for white people, what they gave your son. Try this. It's more useful for black people. Within about 2 days or so, or a day, it was all cleared up. So what that comes down to is the mixed diagnosis based on a default data. Okay.
Okay, so how do we go about mitigating AI bias? I know the title is like we're talking governance. Governance is bias is relative to um, governance in the sense that if ungoverned, if let to go by itself without any guidance, without any mitigation, we will be in a wild, wild west in this thing called AI. So what can we do as a demographic, as a society ourselves, collectively? Well, let's get our youth involved in STEM and AI. There a lot of programs that are now available get our kids, get our youth involved and learning STEM. So if they become the engineers of tomorrow, they become the scientists of tomorrow, they then are involved to start to create what gets created and built tomorrow. Let's
Mhm.
be part of the data that is collected. Provide information about yourself. Provide information. Go into ChatGPT and all of these tools and ask questions. You know, where do I get dried fish or da, so that the system starts to understand because the white folks are not going to ask those kinds of questions. So the system is not going to learn it. We go and ask that question, you know, because normally black folks, we think we know the grocery store that sells it, so we go there. Well, what if there's somewhere else that we were not aware of, maybe even just around the corner? So we start to actually use the prompt, put the prompt so that the system start to learn, oh, that's an interesting question. It banks it. Another person asks, it banks it. Then it starts to build a profile about who we are and what it is that we actually like and know and can now provide us with correct answers or answers close to what we're looking for. If we're in the side of building teams to development teams, have a broad, diverse input in terms of your knowledge base, what comes in. The people that the developers that you put in your team should have, even through collaboration, it doesn't necessarily have to be people you employ, have a diverse knowledge that comes in so that people can actually create algorithm that is reflective or that can easily learn about more than just one group of people. We have to continuously monitor and update AI system as it evolves, as it grows. What is the machine learning? What languages, what language models are being developed? How fast? How well? Is it including me? Is it including what I know? And then, of course, community input and feedback mechanism. How are we contributing to this process? AI is here. It's not going away. We need to be part of the configuration and growth of what it becomes.
Mhm.
Okay, so community, we're talking about community involvement and collaboration. Education is always the first and starting point of anything, whether it's to get to become an expert, to get a certification, to be competent for employment, or even to be able to speak at any level, be educated, have encouraged youth to educate. So encourage and support Black students and professionals to pursue education and training in AI, data science, and related fields. This can include scholarships. There's scholarships available. There's mentorship programs available. There's online courses. There's government sponsored programs for us to be educated in these new and growing specialist fields.
Mhm. So very true. So community involvement and collaboration. The second point is advocacy and community engagement. We got to participate in support initiatives that aim to make AI more inclusive. It's about using collaborate with the policy makers and ensuring that AI regulations consider the impact of marginalized communities. That's are some of the things we need to start doing. So, as I said earlier, you've got to get involved, identify who these people are. Like what I love about the people on this call is you have an interest in this, and you've showed up for this. These are the kind of things whereby, by connecting with people like us and other people, we're all connected through small bubbles, small world. I always say it's a small world, big planet. These are where we figure out who the policy makers are, connect with them, and then give them our input, right? The more information, the better. And then next, we talked about the employment and entrepreneurship, increased representation of Black professionals in the AI industry by pursuing careers in AI technology related sectors, encourage entrepreneurship within the community to create AI-driven businesses. That's exactly what we're doing at My AI Pathways, and these challenges will be for the Black community to solve.
Okay, so what is it that we do at myAIpathway.org? We develop AI software to identify and correct biases. We provide research programs to monitor and address AI biases. So, um, through collaborations with other communities, and we look to authenticate data as is represented. I gave you the example of the Indian-owned company that wants to collaborate with us to help them provide an input into the algorithm that they're building for a very, very interesting and unique application. So we
Mhm,
provide those as services to organizations like um, gaming companies building game software. How how representative is it for a user, a gamer, to be able to build, use the tools to build what they want to build as in their imagination? I want to build um, an avatar that is representative of me
mm,
as the game got it. So we help those kind of companies to test from our perspective and provide feedback.
mhm. Even the
That's
emojis.
emojis. Yes,
Yeah, exactly. They're all yellow.
that's one of our
Um,
targets, right? To change emojis. Yes.
okay. So you can just read the title.
So have you met Fred? Let's, here we go. It's a couple of minutes on Fred.
So, time for Q&A. I guess first question is, what do you think of the video of Fred?
Feel free to either post a
Unmute.
text or unmute and say.
Hi. Well, the video spread is good,
Mhm. Thank
but
you.
I uh, I don't know if I have to say it should be longer or shorter, but it's kind of how to explain it. It might it's bringing like I have the feeling like it's just for a field, a certain field, which is agriculture.
For now, right?
For
We
now,
we can't.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like if you watch it the first time, this is what you
yeah,
will think. Yeah. It's more
yeah.
for agribusiness.
Yes, it's correct for now. We're using this as the basis for other development, but how many times have you gone to the grocery store and you've complained about the prices? Like you try to get food and then I bring it home. For me, I've experienced this where I bring food home from the grocery store, it's overpriced and it tastes horrible. So what we've done is with Fred, I believe it's farming resource equitable delivery is what it pretty much stands for. We have contacts who are like black farmers and they're looking to get their produce to market efficiently. Now, remember how we talked about how, as an entrepreneur, you have to think and use AI to increase your business. Before they used to use, I guess, WhatsApp or just send email messages out saying, hey, we have our produce. And then you'd get like maybe a couple calls back and forth. Is this available? Is this not available? Not sure. I only have five. It was a lot of back and forth. So we've created Fred to assist them on this, whereby it can be give you real-time data as to how much is available and connect people looking for stuff. So it's not just for farmers, it's also for people like us, the consumers. There's real estate and other stuff. I can go on. We'll have more discussions, but Claudia, do you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I mean, the origin of the development was to actually serve that market. But
Hmm.
as we've actually reached the point of production of, or release of the product, we realize that, okay, this is actually usable across any market. So yes, we
Yeah.
will therefore redo our marketing material to reflect that
Hmm.
because it is a
Yeah.
platform for trade of anything.
Hmm. Definitely.
So we're gonna have to be smart with our marketing terminology of how to actually um, and recreate a new video to show that.
Yeah, definitely. And to be all fair, we wanted to make sure we didn't go broad and then people don't know what exactly this engine's capable of doing. So by being specific, then we can hone it, get it right, working perfectly, and then evolve from there versus saying we can do anything. And then you start getting like it's like the cat in the flashlight chasing every little thing. So in business, it's about being strategic for now and then branching off.
Yeah.
Does that make
But
sense?
also what we can do is I can see us creating specific videos for specific industries
Oh,
so
definitely.
that
Not a
that
problem.
industry understands. So if they have a trade event, we go
Yeah.
there and show that specific information that is information that's directed at what they do.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Anyone else? But thank you
Do
for
you have
that.
a
Appreciate
question?
it.
Yes. Great question. Thank you. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
the video will be made available on our website. But
Hmm.
before that, if we can just say that, um, so one of the things we're looking for in terms of call to action is we, as a new company that's growing, we're open to the idea of investors coming to help us out. We ask you, we always ask when we do webinars, We ask attendees to help promote our mission within your community, let people know about us, about Fred, about the company. We ask that you enroll your children, tell your friends, enroll the children in educational programs like the ones we mostly focus around STEM and AI education, and also look to become volunteer in helping to grow and spread the word. And finally, follow us on social media. We're very
Hmm.
active on social media, and we're going to be promoting even more on the My AI Pathway pages in itself.
Hmm. Yep. And then just a quick recap, because then we covered a lot of stuff. The key points is representation matters. Black voices are critical for creating impactful change in AI governance, leadership in ethical AI, fostering visibility and value roles in AI decision making, inclusive systems, ensuring that AI reflects diverse needs, driving fair, more effective solutions, community-driven policies, advocating for AI policies shaped by community input. And my AI pathway mission is about developing tools to identify bias and promote fair representation through research and community collaboration. So hope that helps. Was there a message in the chat? I'm not too sure.
Yes, Brenda was congratulating us on a great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. Really
We
appreciate it.
try.
So if you can take a screenshot of the QR code or just use your phone, you'll be directed to our website, myaapathway.org. You can see all the wonderful things that we're doing. And yeah, so thank you for being present. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. This brings us to the end of this month. So since August, we do monthly webinars. We will not do any for December because, of course, December with the holidays tend to take 10 days away for
Yeah.
things, but we'll resume in January. And also in January, we'll be launching series of workshops. So
Hmm.
January, look out for a webinar and AI-based workshop.
Great. Okay. Take care,
Okay.
everyone.